You were not born to remain as you are. Life is not a sentence written in stone. It is a manuscript that you can edit, rewrite, and transform into a masterpiece. Yet most people will never change because they carry excuses in their pockets like precious coins. They explain why they can't instead of proving why they must. Today, I say to you, throw those excuses into the fire. Burn them until there is nothing left but the will to rebuild yourself into someone the world can no longer recognize. Decide once and for all that the person you are today is not the limit of your potential, but merely the starting point. Too many people carry a quiet belief that they have already reached their peak, when in reality, they've only scratched the surface of who they can become. Transformation begins in the mind with a commitment so deep that hesitation no longer has room to breathe. This is not a half-hearted promise you make to yourself for the sake of feeling inspired for a moment. It is the kind of decision that burns the bridges behind you, leaving no path back to your old ways. Once you decide, you must stand firm, no matter the storms or setbacks, because the very act of deciding changes your trajectory. The moment you commit to reinvention, you give yourself permission to step out of the comfort zone that has been quietly suffocating your growth. It means acknowledging the gap between who you are and who you could be, and refusing to fill that gap with excuses. Every time you catch yourself justifying why something cannot be done, you must replace that thought with a reason why it must be done. Excuses may offer comfort, but they rob you of your future. Each excuse is like a brick in the wall that keeps you trapped in a smaller version of yourself. Tear that wall down by acting in spite of fear, laziness, or doubt. From there, you must build a vision of the future you so clear that it feels more real than your present. See yourself standing taller, speaking with more conviction, achieving results that once seemed impossible. This vision will act as your compass when the journey becomes hard, because it's not enough to simply want change. You must know exactly what you're aiming for. When your mind can see it clearly, your heart can believe it, and your actions can align with it. Let that image pull you forward every day, no matter how far you feel from it right now. But vision without action is just a dream, and dreams left unattended turn into regrets. That is why you cannot wait for the perfect moment to begin. The perfect moment will never come. It is a mirage designed to keep you stagnant. The only time you have control over is now. Take the first step, however small, and let momentum build. Start before you feel ready, and let readiness catch up to your courage. Every great reinvention began with someone daring to move forward without the safety of certainty. Finally, understand that reinvention is not a single event, but an ongoing process of becoming. You will meet resistance from others, from circumstances, and from your own habits, but the commitment you made at the start will carry you through. When you feel tired, remind yourself that this discomfort is proof you are changing. When doubt whispers, remember that the old version of you would have quit, but the new version refuses. Day by day, choice by choice, you will become unrecognizable, not because the world changed, but because you did. And that, in the end, is the greatest victory you can achieve. Excuses have a way of sounding reasonable, even noble at times, but beneath the surface they are nothing more than traps designed to keep you exactly where you are. They wrap around your mind like a soft blanket, convincing you that it's better to stay safe than to take a risk. In reality, they are silent thieves, robbing you of time, opportunities, and the chance to see what you're truly capable of. The comfort they offer is temporary, but the regret they create can last a lifetime. Every time you allow an excuse to win, you reinforce the chains that keep you from moving forward. The most dangerous thing about excuses is how harmless they appear. They rarely show up as bold refusals. Instead, they hide behind phrases like "I'll start tomorrow" or "I'm just not ready yet." They disguise themselves as logic when in truth they are fear in costume. This makes them difficult to detect unless you are brutally honest with yourself. If you want to grow, you must develop the habit of catching excuses the moment they appear. Hold them up to the light and ask, is this truly a valid reason, or is it my fear looking for a way out? That level of self-awareness will cut through the illusions they create. Replacing excuses with action, no matter how small, is the antidote to stagnation. It doesn't matter if the action is imperfect or incomplete. What matters is that you disrupt the habit of delay. Every time you choose action over avoidance, you train your mind to see movement as the default response. That shift in conditioning is powerful because progress builds momentum, and momentum makes excuses harder to justify. The more you act, the less appealing those comfort traps become, and the easier it is to break free from them entirely. It's important to understand that killing excuses is not something you do once. It is a daily discipline. Some days the temptation to avoid, delay, or rationalize will be stronger than others, especially when things feel uncertain or difficult. On those days, you must remind yourself why you began this journey in the first place. Your reason for change must be greater than your reason for staying the same. Each time you silence an excuse and replace it with forward movement, you strengthen the version of yourself that refuses to settle. In time, the absence of excuses will feel liberating. You'll notice your confidence growing because you no longer allow fear to dictate your pace. The goals that once seemed out of reach will now feel inevitable, not because the path became easier, but because you stopped holding yourself back. Excuses will still try to whisper in your ear, but you will recognize them instantly and dismiss them without hesitation. And when you look back, you will realize that the single decision to replace every excuse with an action was the turning point that changed everything. A clear and compelling vision is not just an image in your mind, it is the foundation of transformation. It is the mental blueprint of the life you are determined to create. Without it, you are like a ship sailing without a compass, drifting wherever the wind decides to take you. But when your vision is sharp and detailed, it becomes a guiding force that influences your thoughts, decisions, and actions. It's not enough to simply hope for a better future. You must design it in your imagination so precisely that it feels inevitable. When you know exactly where you're headed, even the hardest days will not break your momentum. To create such a vision, you must close your eyes and see yourself living the life you truly desire. Picture every detail, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the people around you, the environment you are in. Hear the sounds, feel the emotions, notice the energy in that future version of you. The more vivid the picture, the stronger the connection you build with it. This is not daydreaming, this is mental rehearsal for reality. You are training your subconscious mind to recognize this version of you as real and attainable. Your vision must be powerful enough to pull you out of bed even when you feel tired or discouraged. It must ignite something deep within you that refuses to settle for less. On days when you question whether you can continue, this vision will remind you why you started. It will stand as proof that you are meant for more, and it will whisper, "Keep going," when everything else tells you to stop. When you make your vision stronger than your excuses, progress becomes non-negotiable. The clarity of your vision will also shape your decisions. Every choice you make will either move you closer to that image or pull you away from it. When you hold that picture in your mind, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and yes to the actions that matter. You begin to filter opportunities, habits, and relationships through the lens of your vision, keeping only what serves your growth. This is how a clear future transforms your present. It changes how you live today. Over time, your actions will align so closely with your vision that the line between imagination and reality begins to blur. The world will see the changes first in subtle ways, then in undeniable transformations. What once existed only in your mind will stand before you in real life. And in that moment, you will understand the power of a vivid vision. It was not just a dream, it was a preview of the person you were always meant to become. The idea of waiting for the perfect moment is one of the most deceptive traps a person can fall into. It disguises itself as patience, as wisdom, and even as preparation, but in reality, it is often just procrastination dressed in noble clothing. The so-called right time almost never arrives because life is never without its imperfections, uncertainties, and challenges. If you keep waiting for every condition to align perfectly, you will be waiting forever. The world is full of people who had great intentions, but let those intentions wither while they were busy waiting for the stars to align. Action, even imperfect action, is infinitely more valuable than endless hesitation. When you take a step forward before you feel ready, you unlock opportunities that would have remained invisible had you stayed still. Progress breeds clarity. Each move you make reveals the next step in the path. If you wait for clarity before acting, you rob yourself of the very experiences that create it. In truth, refinement comes after you begin, not before. You learn faster by doing, failing, adjusting, and trying again than by standing still and trying to predict every possible outcome. Fear often hides behind the excuse of waiting for the right time. We convince ourselves that we need more resources, more knowledge, more experience before we can start, but most of what we need will only be gained along the way. The act of beginning forces you to grow into the person who can handle what lies ahead. You don't become ready and then start, you start, and through the process, you become ready. That shift in understanding is the difference between those who change their lives and those who remain stuck in the same place for years. Momentum is a powerful force, but it only comes from movement. The longer you delay action, the heavier that first step becomes. Your mind begins to fill with doubts, and the dream you once felt so strongly about starts to fade. By acting now, you bypass that slow erosion of belief. You give yourself a reason to stay engaged, to keep going, and to build a rhythm that will carry you through the inevitable challenges. The earlier you begin, the sooner momentum will be on your side. When you finally take that leap, you will look back and realize that the right time was never a date on the calendar. It was the moment you decided to move despite uncertainty. You will see that the imperfect beginnings were not a flaw in the process, but the very reason you grew. The act of starting will not only bring you closer to your goals, it will also reshape your identity. You will no longer be someone who waits. You will be someone who acts, and that, more than anything, is what transforms a vision into reality. The people you spend your time with shape you in ways you may not even realize. Every conversation, every shared belief, and every example you witness has a subtle influence on your thinking, your habits, and your expectations for yourself. If you surround yourself with individuals who constantly lower the bar, you will eventually find yourself matching their pace, even if you once aimed higher. But when you choose to keep company with those who inspire you, challenge you, and demand more from you, they naturally pull you toward a higher standard. Their mindset, their discipline, and their drive will begin to seep into your own way of living. Those who indulge your weaknesses might feel comforting in the short term, but they ultimately hold you back. They will tell you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear, enabling excuses instead of urging you toward growth. This is dangerous because it keeps you trapped in the illusion of progress while you remain stagnant. A true friend or mentor will not allow you to settle for less than your potential. They will point out when you're slipping, challenge your thinking when it becomes small, and push you beyond your comfort zone. Their role is not to keep you comfortable, it is to keep you growing. Seeking out challenging company is not about arrogance or believing you are better than others. It is about understanding the environments that bring out the best in you. When you spend time with those who have already achieved what you're striving for, their habits become a living example of what is possible. You begin to see that their results are not the product of luck, but of consistent discipline, smart choices, and relentless work. This realization pushes you to match their energy rather than shrinking to fit the comfort of mediocrity. It's also important to note that being challenged is not always pleasant. It can feel uncomfortable to be called out, to have your weaknesses exposed, or to be reminded that you could be doing more, but that discomfort is a sign of growth. It forces you to confront what needs to change. Instead of avoiding people who push you, learn to appreciate them. They are the ones who see your potential clearly, even when you can't, and they refuse to let you waste it. In the end, their honesty will become one of the greatest gifts you've received. Over time, you will notice that the company you keep directly influences your results. If you are surrounded by driven, disciplined, and forward thinking people, you will naturally rise to meet their standard. If you are surrounded by complacency, you will be tempted to lower yours. The choice is yours, and it is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. The altitude you reach in life is not only determined by your own effort, but also by the collective energy of those around you. Choose your circle wisely, and you will find yourself climbing higher than you ever thought possible. Repeating the same patterns day after day creates the illusion of stability, but in truth, it locks you inside a cycle that leaves little room for growth. When each day mirrors the one before it, you end up living on autopilot, making the same choices, thinking the same thoughts, and feeling the same emotions. This predictability may feel safe, but it quietly robs you of new possibilities. If you want different results in life, you cannot keep walking the same path. The first step to change is recognizing that your current routine, no matter how comfortable, will only produce more of what you already have. Breaking your own patterns starts with self-awareness. You must examine your daily habits, your emotional triggers, and your decision-making tendencies with brutal honesty. Ask yourself where you are settling for convenience over progress, where you are avoiding discomfort, and where you are repeating the same mistakes out of habit. These patterns are often so deeply ingrained that you don't even question them. They have become part of your identity. By shining a light on them, you begin to see the invisible strings that are controlling your actions. Awareness is the doorway to change. Once you identify the patterns, you must be willing to disrupt them. This disruption doesn't have to be drastic at first. Even small changes can create new momentum. Taking a different route to work, adjusting the way you start your morning, or introducing a new learning habit can spark fresh thinking. Each intentional break from routine forces your brain to engage differently, which in turn makes you more adaptable and creative. Over time, these small disruptions accumulate, creating entirely new possibilities for your future. However, breaking patterns is rarely comfortable. You may feel resistance, anxiety, or even fear when you step outside the familiar. Your mind will try to lure you back into the safety of old habits because they require less effort and carry less perceived risk. But you must remind yourself that comfort is the enemy of transformation. The discomfort you feel is a sign that you are stretching beyond your current limits, and that stretch is where growth lies. To make these changes stick, you must replace your old patterns with new ones that align with the life you want to create. Simply stopping a habit is not enough. You must give your mind and body a new structure to follow. If you stop wasting time in the evenings, fill that space with learning or planning. If you stop responding to negativity, fill that space with constructive action. The more intentional you are in shaping your new habits, the less likely you are to slip back into old cycles. In time, these new patterns will form a new version of you. People will notice that your energy has changed, that your thinking is sharper, and that your results speak for themselves. You will no longer feel trapped by the repetitive loop of your old life because you will have proven that change is always possible when you choose it. Breaking your patterns is not just about changing your days, it's about rewriting your destiny. And every time you choose a different action, you take one more step toward becoming the person you were always capable of being. Feeding your mind with greatness is like fueling a powerful engine. You cannot expect peak performance if you are filling it with low-quality inputs. Every day, your mind is being shaped by the information you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the ideas you entertain. If you expose yourself to content that is shallow, negative, or distracting, you limit the scope of your thinking and weaken your ability to grow. But when you fill your mind with knowledge, wisdom, and inspiration, you expand your possibilities. The quality of what you feed your mind determines the quality of your decisions, and in turn, the quality of your life. Books, meaningful conversations, and exposure to new perspectives act as mental nutrition. Just as your body needs a variety of nutrients to thrive, your mind needs diverse sources of insight to stay sharp. Reading the works of great thinkers, studying the lives of high achievers, and exploring challenging ideas stretches your capacity to think beyond your current reality. This constant learning keeps your mind alive and adaptable, ready to spot opportunities and solve problems in ways you never considered before. The more you feed your intellect, the less room there is for the weeds of ignorance to grow. Ignorance is not simply the absence of knowledge, it is a breeding ground for stagnation. It keeps you trapped in the same patterns, reacting to life instead of shaping it. When you stop learning, you stop evolving, and when you stop evolving, you start decaying. The danger is that stagnation often feels comfortable because it demands so little from you. But comfort is the quiet enemy of progress, and the antidote is to keep seeking information and ideas that challenge you to rise higher. Every page you read, every lecture you hear, every discussion that sparks curiosity, these are steps away from mediocrity. It's not enough to passively consume knowledge, you must apply it. Wisdom is born when learning translates into action. You can read 100 books on leadership, but until you start leading in your own life, that knowledge remains dormant. Feeding your mind is the first step, but exercising that knowledge in the real world is what turns information into transformation. Test what you learn, adapt it to your circumstances, and watch as it reshapes the way you think and act. Over time, this daily discipline of feeding your mind with greatness becomes part of who you are. Your thinking sharpens, your perspective widens, and your confidence grows because you know you are constantly evolving. While others drift through life accepting whatever ideas come their way, you are deliberately choosing what shapes your mind and, ultimately, your future. In a world full of noise and distraction, this choice is a quiet form of power, one that will set you apart and make reinvention not just possible, but inevitable. Discipline is the steady force that carries you forward when motivation fades. Motivation is a spark. It flares brightly when you are inspired, but it burns out quickly when the work becomes repetitive, difficult, or inconvenient. Discipline, on the other hand, is the engine that keeps you moving whether you feel like it or not. It is the quiet agreement you make with yourself to act in alignment with your goals, regardless of your mood. This is why those who rely solely on motivation rarely last, while those who build discipline can sustain progress for years. Making discipline your closest ally requires shifting your focus from feelings to commitments. You do not wait to feel ready. You show up because you promised yourself you would. It becomes less about chasing bursts of inspiration and more about honoring the systems and habits you have put in place. The more consistently you follow through, the more you train your mind to value action over hesitation. Over time, this removes the emotional debate from your daily decisions and replaces it with automatic follow-through. Discipline is also a form of self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your belief in your own word. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted to do what needs to be done, even when the circumstances are not ideal. This builds a deep confidence that no motivational speech or burst of excitement can give you. It is the kind of confidence that says, I can rely on me, and that certainty becomes a powerful tool for navigating challenges. The beauty of discipline is that it compounds. Small, consistent actions performed over time produce results that seem almost magical to those who lack it. While others stop and start, wasting energy on restarting again and again, you continue to build brick by brick. The daily grind may not feel glamorous, but it is the foundation upon which every great achievement is built. Discipline turns ordinary efforts into extraordinary outcomes simply because you refuse to stop showing up. In the end, discipline frees you. It removes the chaos of indecision and the frustration of inconsistency. When it becomes a part of who you are, you no longer wait for the perfect mood or the right circumstances. You simply act. And in acting, day after day, you create results so consistent and powerful that they cannot be ignored. Discipline may not always feel exciting, but it is the most loyal companion you will ever have on the path to reinvention. Relentless action is the lifeblood of transformation. It is the decision to keep moving forward, not just when conditions are favorable, but especially when they are not. Progress is not made by sporadic bursts of effort followed by long pauses. It is built through continuous, purposeful movement toward your vision. Every step you take, no matter how small, compounds over time to create results far greater than any single moment of inspiration could. When you commit to relentless action, you make it impossible for stagnation to take hold. The temptation to pause and admire your own progress can be a subtle trap. While it's important to acknowledge how far you've come, spending too much time celebrating can slow your momentum. The road to reinvention is long, and while rest has its place, it must never turn into complacency. You cannot afford to let the satisfaction of small victories distract you from the larger mission. Each milestone should be a reminder that there is still more to accomplish, more to learn, and more to become. Taking relentless action also means working through the inevitable resistance that comes with growth. There will be days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or unsure of your next step. Those are the moments that test your commitment to your vision. Instead of waiting for the perfect plan or the perfect mood, you choose to act with what you have where you are. Action in the face of uncertainty builds resilience, and resilience is what allows you to outlast the obstacles that stop others in their tracks. It's important to remember that relentless action does not always mean moving fast, it means moving consistently. Some days will bring big leaps forward, while others will be about steady, incremental progress. Both are valuable because both keep you in motion. The habit of daily action keeps your vision alive in your mind and prevents it from becoming another forgotten goal. Consistency turns effort into identity. You become the kind of person who acts no matter the circumstances. Over time, this unwavering commitment to action transforms you. Opportunities begin to appear not because luck has suddenly found you, but because your persistence has positioned you to seize them. Your skills sharpen, your confidence grows, and your results begin to speak louder than your words ever could. Relentless action is the bridge between the person you are and the person you want to be, and every step you take across it brings you closer to the version of yourself that once existed only in your imagination. Embracing the discomfort of transformation requires understanding that growth is rarely a smooth or pleasant experience. When you decide to reinvent yourself, you are choosing to step into unfamiliar territory where your old habits, beliefs, and limitations no longer fit. This process is unsettling because you are leaving behind the version of yourself you've known for years, even if that version was holding you back. Discomfort is not a sign that you are failing. It is proof that you are moving beyond the boundaries of who you used to be. There will be moments when the process feels painful, when you doubt your ability to continue or question whether the change is worth it. In those moments, it is easy to romanticize the comfort of the past, to think about how much easier life was before you challenged yourself. But that ease was an illusion, a quiet stagnation that kept you from your full potential. Pain and doubt are not indicators to turn back. They are signals that you are in the middle of transformation, shedding the layers that no longer serve you. Loneliness can also be a companion during reinvention. As you grow, you may find yourself drifting away from people who once felt like your entire world. This is not because you have become better than them, but because you are moving toward a life they may not understand or support. Letting go of certain relationships can be difficult, but it is often necessary for your evolution. In the silence that follows, you create space for new connections with people who align with your future instead of your past. The discomfort you feel is much like the soreness after intense training. It is a sign that you are building strength in areas that were once weak. You may not see the results immediately, but beneath the surface, change is taking place. Every time you push through the uncertainty, you strengthen your resilience, and that resilience becomes one of your most valuable tools for the future. This is why you must learn to see discomfort not as an enemy, but as a teacher guiding you toward your next level. Eventually, there comes a day when the pain begins to fade and you catch a glimpse of the person you are becoming. You realize that the struggles you endured were the very forces that shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. The discomfort that once felt unbearable becomes something you are grateful for because it proved you were willing to go through what others avoid. And when you finally meet the unrecognizable version of yourself, you will know that every moment of doubt, pain, and solitude was the price of becoming everything you were meant to be. One day, you will look into the mirror and not recognize the person staring back. That will be your victory, because in that moment you will know you killed the excuses, you broke the chains, and you rebuilt yourself from the ground up, and the world will have no choice but to take notice.